President Barack Obama's Fair Sentencing Act was signed officially on August 3rd of 2010. The Fair Sentencing Act, which was an amendment to the previously in place Act of Controlled Substances and Controlled Substances Import and Export Acts. The purpose of this act was to reduce the discrepancy, quote, between the mandatory minimum sentence for crack and powdered cocaine offenses, end quote. It was believed that there was an extensive difference between the sentencing of both substances, even though they were the same drug in two different formats. Additionally, before this act was signed, you would receive a longer sentence if found with crack cocaine than with powdered cocaine, though it is the same drug just in two different formats. For example, if you had 5 grams of crack cocaine, you would serve a 10-year sentence, while it took roughly 500 grams of powdered cocaine in order to receive the same 10-year sentence that you got for having the 5 grams of crack cocaine. Once signed, it reduced the discrepancy from 100 to 1 to 18 to 1, meaning that, quote, crack cocaine sentences have become 18 times harsher, end quote, instead of its previously 100 times harshness. Additionally, the purpose of this act was also to increase the monetary penalties for major drug traffickers and for the import and export of controlled substances. It's also eliminated the mandatory minimum sentence of 5 years for the possession of crack. The act was able to do this due to the fact that it raised the quantity needed to receive the 5 to 10 year mandatory minimum that was first set in place in 1986. With the Fair Sentencing Act of 2010, you needed to have a minimum of 28 grams rather than the 5 grams that was previously placed as the minimum for crack cocaine. And to receive the 10-year sentence, you would need to have 280 grams instead of 50 grams of crack cocaine that was previously placed in 1986. On a similar note, the disparity before the act had primarily affected the African American community, as they made up of 79% of those sentenced for the possession of crack. Though research showed that the 2/3 of crack users were white or Hispanic. It was also noted that without this act, that African Americans served almost the same amount in prison for a non-violent drug offense as a white person who was serving time for a violent offense. As a result of the act, the number of, quote, federal prosecutions of crack cocaine offenders was reduced by half, end quote. The Fair Sentencing Act has significantly dropped the usage of crack cocaine from 1% in 2010 to 0.3% in 2013. There has also been a significant reduction in the number of people sentenced, as in 2010 there were 4,730 people sentenced, and in 2014 there were 2,366 people sentenced for the use of crack cocaine. This reduction of sentence for cocaine saved $42 million during this time. Though some of the members of Congress had their doubt with the act and were strongly against it, as they believed it would have caused crack cocaine to become a danger and enable violence. But it was noted in the act that when handling aggravated cases, such as those involving violence or bribery of the law official, there would be an increase of penalties. Additionally, the Commission has the ability to apply the Fair Sentencing Act to those who were incarcerated for charges of crack cocaine before the Fair Sentencing Act was officially signed. This would be beneficial to roughly 15,000 people. For example, Hamad Hassam was serving the 17th year of a 27-year sentence for the first conviction of possession of powdered cocaine. Even after the act was signed by Obama, her sentence remained unchanged. There were many cases, such as this one, that waited for a reduction in sentence due to a large sentence for a first-time conviction. Although some people received a reduction in their sentence, majority did not.